Let's just start with a little bit about yourself. Are you from Columbus?
No, originally I moved up from North Carolina
Oh, okay.
back in 2017
Okay.
for work, of course, and lived here. I've lived here ever since then.
Okay. What kind of work was it?
Warehouse management.
Okay. Um, did did you get a job or did when you came
I
here?
was recruited and I had a job, so I left the job with a job. Unlike a lot of people, they quit a job before they have another job. So I was recruited. My last day at my other job was on a Sunday, and I drove up here and I started work on Monday.
Okay. Um, what led you to the open shelter?
Life happened. Uh, I took a lot of things for granted, and went homeless back. Let's see, I didn't work since last October of 21, and I went homeless back in February. I was living in my car, hard-headed, didn't want to ask for any help. The car died on me near Rickenbacker Air Base, and I lived in my car probably for 3 months until they finally said, "Look, you're on restricted property," and I moved into a shelter downtown.
Oh wow. Okay. So were you actually on the
I
base?
was on a lot that wasn't fenced, but there were signs.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
knew what I knew. I wasn't supposed to be there, and I moved my car from time to time to a hotel that was near there.
Right.
But I used that location because I could get Wi-Fi from the hotel to communicate with my children. And when it was finally impounded, my car, which didn't run, I was living in a shelter down on Main Street, a men's shelter.
Friends of the homeless.
Friends of the Homeless.
Okay.
And I happened to come upon the open shelter. I was in Friends of the Homeless on a Thursday at the end of May. Went out for a walk on Friday and was walking to the library and happened to walk by. Now, I thought it was a shelter, full-time shelter.
Right.
So I immediately contacted the gentleman who hooked me up with the Friends of the Homeless and said, "Hey, are they taking any people?" Only to realize that it was not a full-time shelter anymore. I guess in the past it was a full-time shelter.
Oh, okay.
A while back.
Friends of the homeless isn't
No.
a full-time shelter
No.
anymore?
The open shelter.
Oh, they were contacting
Yeah.
us. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
I see what
I
you're saying.
called my guy and he goes, "No, it's just a day shelter."
They
So
service
go
it.
in and talk to Solomon.
Yeah.
Because one of the gentlemen I was working with at Primary One who got me off I guess I was on the streets, but I was in my car, but I wasn't physically living on the streets. Brian Hall, who works at Primary One,
Mhm.
was, I guess, an alumni,
Yeah.
one of the first.
Yeah.
And they said, "Well, go in and talk to people." And I happened to come in on that Friday and happened to get an ID, which, because my driver's license was expired that same day, Sarah pointed me in the right direction, sent me down there, and I started off from there. The only thing I didn't like about the open shelter at the time is it wasn't open 7 days a week.
Yeah, okay.
Because, when Saturdays and Sundays, being homeless, for lack of a better term, and it sucks.
Now, were you staying at Friends of the Homeless at this time?
Yes, it was my second day. It was my second day when I
Okay.
walked by out front here and saw people sitting here drinking coffee. And I went down to the library and contacted the people at Primary One, Brian Hall and Jose Feliciano, and I was like, "What is this?" And they go in. And so I made it a point every day when I was walking. So I'd try to get up at 4 a.m, shower, and hit the streets as soon as the sun came out, because I did not want to stay. Well, I couldn't stay in the shelter,
Right.
but I knew I had to get out and get my life back in order.
Gotcha. Are you still at Friends of the Homeless, or how long were you at Friends
No,
of the
I was at the
Homeless?
Friends of the Homeless until I want to say the end of July.
Okay.
I was taking it upon myself to find my own work, to find my own housing, and all this. I did a lot of walking. I didn't ride the bus much, only when necessary to take job interviews, because it seemed like all my job interviews were down in Groveport, in Gahanna, in Grove City. And I came back from a job interview one day on a Wednesday, and they said, "You've been exited."
Oh, wow. Why did they
Be-
say?
because I refused the housing they were looking for me. It was a group home
Oh,
amongst people that I didn't want to be around. It's not that I'm better than anybody. It's
right.
just the drugs and the mental health issues, and I don't need that in my life right now.
Gotcha.
I'm crazy enough as it is on
Oh,
my own. so so I was out on the streets actually for about 4 days, and I got in. I called the homeless hotline and got in at Faith Men's on Grant,
right.
which was a far better living environment. But there still, I was every day. I was up on my feet, down. I could walk in the dark in that neighborhood,
Right.
downtown. Whereas over there on Main, it's not really
Right.
not suggested.
Yeah. How long were you at Faith?
Oh, probably a month, maybe.
Okay.
I had I've been getting job offers, and I had to find one that was close enough to where I could ride a bus in the time being. And I accepted a job offer, and it was down in Groveport. The bus stopped about a mile from the distribution center. I was able to get another new manager who was coming into the company at the same time I was. He would pick me up for that first week. Pick me up at Sheets where the bus stopped,
Right.
and take me in, and then in the evening drive me up to the shelter.
Okay. You mentioned you were living in your car. How long was that again?
Middle of February through the end of May,
In the May, so about
and
3 months.
It was cold at the beginning.
That was my next
The car-
question. What was that like? I mean, what struggles
Well-
did you go through? Hurdles you had to
Oh,
cross?
it's just I would go days and days and days without eating because I was hard headed. I didn't want to ask for
Right.
help, and I didn't know of any shelters down in where I was. It was down in Lockbourne.
Right.
So I'd walk every day. I'd get up and walk, and nights were cold. Some of those days when the ice was falling, and my upper body was warm, but my feet got so cold with the floorboard.
Right.
I had blankets on the floorboard, and it's just it amazed me how cold it got. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
I'm hot natured. I love the cold.
Yeah.
But there comes a point where it's like, come on, son, come up, and I
It's
get
too
out and
cold.
walk, and I'd walk to the truck stops and get water, and I dare say there have been weeks would 10 days to 2 weeks would go by without eating.
Oh wow.
I didn't want to look homeless.
Right.
Maybe it's vanity, so I
Wow.
always tried to wear a polo shirt, wear
Right.
shorts, something clean. But I was always walking up and down Alum Creek, and,
Yeah.
trying to blend in.
You had mentioned children.
Yeah.
How many children do you have?
Two. Well, I
Two.
actually have four. Two are grown and out of the house,
Okay.
but I have two kids. My son is 14, which I actually had to pick him up from school today because he got suspended.
Wow.
He just turned 14,
Uh-oh.
and then my daughter turned 10 this past June. But luckily, their mother lived nearby. She lived in the school district, so they were living with me. But when everything happened, they moved with her, and they still got to stay in the same school district. And I saw them on the weekends, just right down the road from here. There's a Lincoln Community Center.
Right.
It's a pool complex, and she dropped them off, and we spend the days together.
So they're here. Your family's here.
My kids are here.
Your kids are
my
here.
kids are here, and their mother is here.
Okay.
But other than that, my dad, he still lives in North Carolina. My sister lives in North Carolina, and all of my dad's family lives in rural North Carolina because they're all farmers, and all of my
Right.
mother's family lives in Germany because he met her in the service.
Oh wow. So your immediate family were they living in North Carolina with you at the time? You said you came to
No,
Columbus.
well, we all live together. Yeah, my children's mother and the two small younger children.
Uh-huh.
Because Peyton and Camden, my twins, got out when they turned 18. Peyton is currently stationed at Camp Pendleton.
Oh.
He's an Arabic translator, and Camden originally got into commercial underwater welding. He was a commercial diver on oil rigs and offshore,
Yeah.
and now he's got a company, he got off of that, and he's doing a lot of fiber optic work
Oh, wow.
with a company down in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Gotcha. Okay. So you had the family in North Carolina, and when you got the job here,
Yep.
you all came here. Now, you
Yep.
said that was like 2.5 years ago?
That was in 17.
17. Oh, actually about 5 years ago.
April of 17. Well, I moved up the beginning of April. They didn't come until June due to the fact that my son was in school.
Right.
And the school system down there is a little bit different. It goes like middle of June and then they're out until Labor Day. Here it's a little bit different. They get out in May and they go back before Labor Day.
Gotcha. So how long, when you moved here, you said you had gotten a job in 17. How long were you at that job?
I was at that job it wasn't long. It was still December. They were changing management. They brought in a different avenue, and I was offered to move to another location out of state or take a sales job, and I didn't want to do any of that.
Right.
So I'm not a salesperson, and
Gotcha.
I was not moving to Chicago. Sorry.
Gotcha.
Not with the kids.
So about how long total you were just homeless this year then, right?
Yes, just this year.
So from 17 up until now, they're like other odd jobs, or
Yeah, I'd had different warehouse management jobs, and one thing everybody's always said, even if it seems I always land on my feet. If a job wasn't going well,
Right.
I'd always bounce back with something.
That's good.
And it's happened again. The company I was originally with, I started September 12th this year.
Right.
Actually was able to get a vehicle. Currently, I don't have my own residence, which I'm looking for. It's kind of hard to have an eviction, which makes it especially tough.
Where
But
are you staying now?
I'm actually staying in a hotel. I got a good rate down in Obetz. The people at the hotel are really good. So I'm paying, people say you can't live in a hotel all your life. I agree. I said, but for right now, it works.
Yeah.
I don't pay electricity. I don't pay water.
It's not bad.
I mean, but the problem is I love to cook. I can't cook. My son stays with me a lot. He's actually there right now after picking his little self up from school.
Right.
And I get to see the kid, and I pick up the kids every morning and take them to school. If they don't, my son stays with me, so I just drive them to school. But
Right.
I pick up my daughter every morning, and he's with me. And I drop them off at school. It's their mother lives 5 minutes away. The school is like 6 minutes away. So it's worked out very well.
Now, if you don't mind me asking, if you don't want to answer, that's fine. I understand, like, your relationship with their mother.
We're on friendly terms. We just went back to court. She had originally, when all this happened, she wanted to we had shared parenting.
I got you.
And I was a residential parent. But when everything went down, we changed her over to a residential parent because she's in the school district now, and she was going for full custody. But luckily, last week, we went through mediation and spoke with the judge, and we got everything resolved. We're keeping shared parenting. We make the decisions,
So
we ask each other. So
were you married or
no, we were never married.
Okay.
We were never married.
Gotcha.
But you might as well say.
Yeah, I know. Gotcha. So how has the open shelter helped you?
Well, it gave me a lot of direction. Because like I said, when I walked by that first day, I was lost. I never lived in, on a floor with 30 men that, many have total disregard for everybody else. I mean, I don't want to use jungle as a
Right.
term, but that's what everybody called the third floor because it was 130 guys. I was on the second floor with only 30, but it's look out for yourself. And I was never used to that.
And that was at Friends of the Homeless.
Yeah, I was at Friends of the Homeless, and it's like everybody's looking. Everybody is trying to do the best for themselves, and a lot of times I'd see it, and I see it out on the streets now. I mean, I'll walk down the streets, and there's not a lot of compassion,
Right.
and it's sad. It's very sad. But I got here, they got direction. Like I said, I was able to get the food stamps. I don't know why I call it food stamps because they put it on the card now.
Right.
But food stamps it is. I was able to get that, and with some guidance from everyone here, and it's just helped me out with avenues. Getting Medicare for the first time. I never had it, but when that Winnebago that's parked out back right
Right.
now, I was able to get some medication I needed. I don't have high blood pressure. They call it like mid high,
Right.
but I hadn't taken my medicine in since January because I couldn't afford it. And like I said, it's gave me a hot meal every day, gave me a bag lunch if I needed it, but most of the time I usually gave the bag lunch away to kids on the street because
Yeah.
they don't need to live this life.
Right.
But like I said, you have to, like I've told you, I hope people don't come in here with expectations, but they have to do the legwork.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get a handout.
Right.
You may get food, and they may point you in the right direction, but you actually have to be diligent and go through the process.
Yeah.
One of the things, I have some friends that are still homeless, and I'm trying to help them out as much as I can. It's the expectation. If they keep getting stuff, and it's like, why work if I can get it for free?
Yeah.
And it's sad because I see so much potential in a lot of them.
Right.
It's just that lifestyle where I can get a free phone. I never got a free phone. That was one thing I was, you know. So I know some guys that have 4 or 5 free phones.
Right.
And I'm like, what are you doing with all those free phones?
Are these people you've met since
Oh yeah.
you became homeless?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's eye opening, and it's humbling, and it's what you guys do here. I don't know if I could do it. I mean, like I said, I've helped feed down at the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Broad
Street?
Yeah, right down here, Parsons. Yeah, Church for All People.
Oh yeah, right over
Yeah,
there. Geez, right across
I
the
know
street.
I know some people there, and they do a great job, but it's a lot of times it's not rewarding.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no pat on the back. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
I could see someone going home and crying and just throwing their hands up in frustration.
Yeah.
It gives me like a school teacher nowadays.
Yeah.
Your hands are tied with what you can do.
Right.
You don't have the supplies, but you're under the gun because your livelihood's at stake if X number of kids don't pass.
Right.
Stuff like that.
I can see the correlation. It does make sense. I guess let's just wrap up with this. If somebody were thinking about supporting the open shelter, donating to the open shelter, what would you tell them?
I'd say it's probably a lifelong, life-changing endeavor. Excuse me. And I'm not saying necessarily donate money. Donate some time.
Yeah.
Anybody can donate money. I see it all the time. That's one of the things I see a lot on the street. When I was on the streets here, everybody's trying to throw money at a problem.
Right.
Money's not the solution. It's part of the solution, but getting out, meeting the people, and seeing what they actually need. Because someone will tell you they're hungry, and as well as I do. You give them some money, and that money's not going toward food because
Right.
I haven't seen a hungry homeless person yet. Because there are
Yeah.
so many, just up and down the street, in
Right.
these 5 blocks, there are
Nice.
so many avenues
That's true.
for food. And
Right.
if you're hungry, it's your own fault. And I'm
Gotcha.
sorry to be that blunt, but
Right.
like I said, you have to do the legwork.
Yeah.
But I would say donate time and see what they actually need. I don't know, Thanksgiving turkeys, blankets, clothes.
Yeah.
That's what these people really need because it's like, I don't know. I help out when I can and do what I can, and you can't force someone to do, but just like showing up for church one day a year,
Yeah.
throwing money in the plate, saying you've done your part. You have to do it on a regular basis.
I did think of one other thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Going forward, what's kind of like your goals, some things you're striving for?
Well, since I got that one job back in September, I was approached by a company out of California to do a startup here in Columbus. Now, all their warehouses are in California. As a matter of fact, I'm flying out to California tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
Orange County, California. I'll be there through Saturday. But the warehouse down here is an empty shell. It's already built. But
Where's that at?
It's on Georgesville Road.
Okay. I was
Down-
thinking of something else.
It's down. If you're coming on 270 off Georgesville, there's a big Lowe's Kroger complex.
Okay,
And
yes.
everything. You don't go back into Columbus,
Right.
Like where the Super Walmart is. You go the other way. It's about a mile down the
Okay.
road on the right.
I know exactly where you're
It's right
talking about.
beside UPS.
I
And
think I might have drove back there by mistake one
I
day.
have to, I've been delegated with getting it up and running, and that's my warehouse.
Oh, wow.
So I have to get the racking put in, the refrigeration unit, the freezers, and everything else. So
That's great.
hopefully, we'll look to start hiring some people around the beginning of December. And I'm going to be pulling some people off the street if I can get their cooperation.
Yeah, there you go.
But for that is my right now where I'm at job wise. But my goal is to get out of the hotel and get a place of my own, which is tough. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I'd love to find something out in the country. I really don't want to be on top of someone,
Right.
or below someone, or right next door to someone. My son actually wants a dirt bike for Christmas, and you can't ride it through downtown Columbus.
No,
Although I
not
have
supposed.
seen some people
They do.
riding through downtown.
Trust me,
Columbus.
they do. You're not
So,
supposed to do it, but
Yeah.
it is done
But
a lot.
that is another form of how I keep my kids' grades good. That is bribery. Because if his grades aren't up, he can kiss the dirt bike goodbye. So,
There you go. All right. Well, thanks. I think.